Ahoy, hoy, we're back yet again, I guess. We didn't do this every week. We decided to get into a little bit later in the season, and that's all good, though. It is, yet again, it is me, Bryan Preston, here on YouTube, obviously, and I'm here to just break it down for you, I guess, and we're going to be talking about some WandaVision, just because, well, we're still in the throes of a viral pandemic, and I am slowly spiraling into madness, I would suppose, much like the titular multiverse of madness, which we'll be talking about a little bit later in this video. Again, one of them is a very fun, probably, Marvel movie directed by Sam Raimi, and another is me, of course, just, well, descending into my own multiverse of madness. Yes, all of the days have bled together and all of the rooms are the same. Just, God, just the off-white nature of the universe is very disconcerting, and sometimes it feels like the walls are closing in. And who else do the walls feel like they're closing in on, of course, but our own titular Wanda Maximoff, star of WandaVision, created by Wanda in the show within the show, which we all love. Now this week, we start off a little bit, I'm only going to touch on this for a moment, could have phrased that a little bit better, but pretty much we start the episode with their kids. They're playing the Nintendo Wii. Now I couldn't get a screen cap of what bothered me the most of this scene, because of course that they're just playing a GameCube later with a GameCube controller with just the little cord cut, as opposed to one of the licensed Wavebird controllers. Guys, I mean, this is, hopefully someone got fired for that blunter. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. But no, it starts off the kids, they're playing the video games. Time is getting all wonky, as we've seen outside in other parts of the hex, the sphere, whatever. I guess we're just going to call it the hex. It's you know, that's the shape it is in. It also refers to the hex powers of Wanda Maximoff, of course, the Scarlet Witch we know from comics. Now, we covered a lot of the stuff last week on just like the big overarching stuff, so this is going to be more just dealing with some of the other stuff we got into this week. So pretty much they're there. They're just they're playing with the games, and then none other than Agatha, seen here, and of course one of the original incarnations of the character, shows up, and she is like, hey, she's back to actually her normal pre-episode 6 sort of tone, which I think is kind of interesting and telling, and does get into the big reveal that we will see later in the show. I do just like to bring up the original character. You notice all that glorious Kirby crackle in the background, as they call it in comic books, and all that. Now, of course, though, she is talking about one thing that she keeps bringing up to both Wanda and the kids. When she's coming in there, of course, Wanda is all just, well, in a totally relatable depressive state and does not want to leave her home, which, again, the parallels are staggering. But anyway, so Wanda gets in, or Agatha comes in there, and of course, she's talking about some sort of strange mole. Now, am I suggesting that Fred Savage's character in the movie Austin Powers Goldmember is actually the villain? Yes. Yes, I am. No, actually, no, I'm not. I think last week we said that it was a demon all along, and even though there was that big reveal at the end of the episode, I do still think there is a little hope out there for that possession. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Just enjoy all of Kevin, God damn, I almost wanted to call him Kevin Arnold, because frankly, that's who he'll always be to me right in here. But no, Fred Savage, actual villain, we're calling it now. So back in the show, we get back to things inside of the hex. Of course, we see everyone's favorite minor character from the Thor movies, and my favorite character from the shortly lived show, actually, no, I can't lie, I was always the other broke girl fan. But no, we got Kat Dennings here as a, well, frankly, a thick escape artist, which the internet lost their collective minds over this week. I think, actually, what I like almost as much as the show itself is, much like this, all of just the ludicrous, frankly, just grabbing at straws people on the internet are doing about this. Now, my favorite one I've seen, though, has to do, I'm never going to figure out which way to point on this camera, it's always going to throw me off, has to do with this one here, as someone actually did suggest, someone that I assume gets paid money to do this sort of thing, which is an insane concept. But anyway, someone said that that she was an escape artist because, of course, an inside joke that she escaped the Thor movies. And frankly, I don't think Marvel shits on their own movies in their own shows that hard. Also, though, one out of the 3 Thor movies is awesome, and two of the other one is watchable, and then the other one is, I feel, the worst Marvel movie in out of all of them, just because it's kind of boring. So anyway, yeah, Thor 2, Dark World, don't care for it. I don't think that's it. I think she's just an escape artist, probably, because she just keeps escaping certain situations. She certainly escaped Sword to get into here. Also, she was handcuffed to the thing, so maybe it was just that she was tied up at the moment. Not everything has to mean a billion other things, which is ironic, of course, when the, just, I guess under the auspices of this video, which I'm not editing, where I am also just grasping for straws. So anyway, we've got Darcy in here, and then we get one of the ads, which I think is actually one of the more telling things just about where this whole show and all this other stuff is going moving forward. So pretty much we see an ad for the Nexus. Now, not the short-lived buried WWE stable. This Nexus, of course, as you can see from this lovely drawing here of Man-Thing going through just a door into drugs and eyeballs, is pretty much just going through the Nexus of all realities, which is, of course, a door. Of course, I say this like stuff like, no, it is pretty much the Nexus point where all realities overlap at one point or another in the Marvel Universe. There's also Nexus beings, which pretty much are like certain characters, whatever, that are also focal points for, like, I guess, just cross-dimensional convergence, what have you. But pretty much here the ad this week is for the Nexus, and either your Nexus or against us. But no, this is again pretty much hearkening to the interconnected, like, multi-planar, something we were talking in the last video, just the whole multi-planar and just like different pan-reality sort of stuff that they're going to open up with this, and also that what-if stuff. So that was the ad this week, was for the Nexus. And then also, we did see Monica Rambeau finally got her powers, and became Photon Spectrum, the original Earthling Captain Marvel, etc., etc. Now this, of course, is just 2 panels from Next Wave, which I think are like, the character originally was just one of the, just, sort of there with the Avengers then in the early 2000s. I mean, I can't really think of any, like, super awesome 80s integral, like, really big just Monica Rambeau stories from those old Avengers runs. But pretty much in, like, the early 2000s, the character was kind of reimagined in Next Wave. Agents of Hate, one of my favorite comics. It's really too bad I don't want to get into all the stuff about the creator of that book, but they really did sort of just revitalize and reinvigorate the character by just sort of putting, just pretty much, this is around the time when people started just looking at, like, the absurdity, a lot of those Silver and Bronze Age comic books, and pretty much her as just sort of reflecting on that as a more sort of satirical character with more of an edge to her. Really, I think just really revitalized the character for the last, like, 50 and some odd years. I don't think people would be as excited for, like, Monica Rambeau showing up and stuff if it weren't for that, like, Next Wave reinvention. I do, though, think that when she refers to herself as Annie Monica, that is probably not the best moving forward. Okay, so we also see her get her powers this episode after, of course, they foreshadow that pretty heavily in the other episodes. And they're like, your genetic code is gonna be rewritten. I mean, we all knew that was coming. I don't think I really need to even put that in the video. And we see her here with her Spectrum powers kicking in. Pretty much what those are. She's one of those characters, like, sort of like Molecule Man, where, like, originally no one thought about how just, like, god tier insane her powers to, like, be able to see and turn into any, like, light on the spectrum would be and manipulate it, like, pretty much just do whatever. There's definitely one of those characters, and I like with this, though, is that her powers are pretty much an exact, or a pretty good representation of what it's like to be on, like, 4 to 6 hits of pretty good liquid acid. You didn't hear that from me, folks, but that's pretty much, that is one of those things I also love, is just, like, well, frankly, how, like, look, someone at Marvel gets down, and it's very noticeable if you get down and go to their movies. I'll just say that. Alright. So, of course, we said Spectrum stuff for Wanda and Agatha. They get into it a bit here and there when, she's confronting him. There's also that whole thing. I'm not going to touch any on this because it's, like, pretty much also Darcy just breaks it all down for the Vision and is like, hey, this is what happened. And he's like, oh, that sucks. I died. And he's like, yeah, well, it really sucked or what? And pretty much they come to the whole realization that, I don't know, like, love is more powerful than whatever. Just the standard stuff. Look, I watched a lot of 80s anime growing up as a kid. Love always conquers all. I get that. Maybe not so much in the real world, but hey, this is a fictional show. So, of course, though, the big thing this episode is the reveal that it was Agatha all along. She's seen here as, I guess maybe that cameraman that that Pam tried to bang in the last season of The Office. I don't know. That is the character I relate to most on that show, just by the by. But yeah, we pretty much get the song, and this, of course, goes against a lot of what I was saying in our last video, which, frankly, look, everybody, I have been wrong about women more than just on this show, folks. And frankly, it's gonna happen again. That's just who I am and how I get down. I live life. But no. So pretty much you get that catchy ass earbug of a song. It was Agatha all along. Now here's the thing. I don't know. I mean, this is a big twist. I don't know if it's the last twist. I do have a couple issues with it. I mean, certainly she did all that stuff. They said she did. She fooled. You know what? Frankly, she fooled me. She fooled the Vision. If anything, I am as dumb and trusting as a super advanced robot. I'm okay with that. And yeah, so that's pretty much the whole twist. Like, it's Agatha all along. My only issue with that is, again, just as now, as a reader of the comic books, I think I am sometimes hamstrung by that. I think just like having that a priori knowledge of it sort of throws me off, because they definitely do make a lot of dumb twists and turns. Because frankly, a lot of the stuff, a lot of those beloved comics, I've been rereading a lot of Uncanny X-Men. I've actually pretty much reread the entirety of the Chris Claremont run on Uncanny X-Men. I'll probably dig back into some of those 80s and 90s Avengers and stuff during the pandemic as well, because this is just never going to end, but it will. No, it's just a lot of the stuff that happens in those comics really would not work today, and you really can't recontextualize it. I don't even want to get into some of, like, just the other more just far-fetched. If they could stay comic book accurate with everything, it would just be weird and kind of unpleasant, and just a lot of shit that would just be bad shit, and that's okay. We didn't go that. My main issue, though, is in the comics, though. Agatha Harkness is like a frankly, I've already been disarmed by that picture that I'm looking at on my laptop of Catherine Hahn. Just, she gets me, guys. But no, yeah, pretty much in the comics, though, she's like not straight up evil. Her whole deal with Wanda is pretty much like this, right? She's originally brought in as the governess of Franklin Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Invisible Woman's child. Notice I didn't say Invisible Girl. I'm a feminist. But no, it's pretty much brought in as a governess, and then, like, in the 80s, she teaches Wanda about a whole bunch of stuff on magics, etc., etc., of course, because she is a thousand-year-old witch who was alive for the fall of Atlantis, and the Salem witch trials, and then, like, her son, which we will get into, then try her son in Salem 7, which, again, ludicrous 70s comic stuff, try to overthrow her in a whole time travel-y witch thing, but that's not important. Okay, so in the comics, though, it's pretty much, this is what actually sets off the breakdown of the Scarlet Witch Wanda that a lot of this stuff is taken from, right? In the comics, what happens is they're like, yo, it's revealed that Billy and Tommy, whatever, Billy and Tommy are actually two pieces of Mephisto's soul. And then pretty much at the end of that, Agatha Harkness just wipes all of the Scarlet Witch's recollection of that from her mind, and everyone in the Avengers is like, hey guys, never bring that up. And then eventually, she remembers it because the Wasp says something when they're at the pool one day, and so Wanda straight up murders Agatha Harkness, which is why I'm always just like, duh, about her representation on the show. Now, another interesting thing, though, is we see this here, and that is the Darkhold, possibly. My only issue with that, though, is they actually did introduce the Darkhold in season, I forget, of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is pretty much one of the books they focus on at, like, 1 or 2 points in the episode. The only reason I bring it up is because, of course, like, if they're focusing on it, it's probably important. There's only but so many evil books, in the Marvel, you know, whatever. The Darkhold is probably the biggest one of those. That's why myself and internet scholars on this sort of thing seem to think that is the book over there. And that shows up, that plays a prominent point when she, you know, she catches, Agatha catches Wanda down there. And also the other thing is, of course, the kids aren't there when Wanda gets down to that basement, which probably hints back to the whole thing where, of course, Wanda's kids are actually imaginary, and them being erased from history will maybe cause the Scarlet Witch to go even nuttier and then kill a bunch of people. But that actually does seem a little bit dark, so I'm thinking we are going to get a happy ending on this. And then the episode ends with the mid credits stinger, where we've got Corpse Silver and Spectrum, and he's like, Snoopa's gotta be snooping. Also, I do like, though, that, like, he is still very much set in that like late 2000s D-bag aesthetic. So who knows what else is going to happen? That all this is apparently still taking place in like 2008, which I guess as they move up through time, that is acceptable. I did see. I am a little bit upset that they did not go into Martin. That's just me. I would have liked to see that, or possibly Living Single. Whatever. I don't make those decisions. And yeah, so pretty much that ends up here. We got, Corpse Silver, her. There's something about an evil seller. I got my money on Spectrum, though. If that's, they might go with Spectrum or Photon. I'm not sure which of the code name they're going to go with. But that also does lead us to one other thing. I think I finally got it figured out this time. Who's really pulling the strings on this one? That, of course, is none other than the rabbit. Yes, I do believe that the rabbit Scratch is, or Mr. Scratchy? Senor Scratchy? Again, I should edit this and I do enough research, but anyway, no. Yes, do I think that the rabbit is actually evil? Maybe. Is one of the names for Satan Old Scratch? Possibly. Am I suggesting that yes, it is either, the twist is going to reveal that it's either an evil mole, played by none other than Fred Savage, or Satan as a rabbit? Maybe. At this point, I don't know, but we'll see you next week to find out.